This is the Balanced Advisor Podcast with Dr. Travis Perry, helping financial advisors like you achieve balance in their lives.
Welcome to another episode of the Balanced Advisor Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Travis Perry. Today, we're joined by Jamie Bosse. Jamie is a financial planner, author, and mother of four. She works with clients to help them master what's next by clarifying their goals, creating a financial plan, and taking action. Jamie has a passion for mentoring and financial literacy. She's the author of Money Boss Mom, helping young parents be the boss of their financial future, as well as the Milton, the Money Savvy Pup children's book series. Say that 10 times fast. Jamie, welcome to the show.
Hi, Travis. Thanks so much for having me.
You do so well with your marketing. I love what you did, there with Money Boss Mom and, really helping kids understand, money, their financial future at a very young age. So cool to hear about in the pre-show, what you're doing with it, how it's helping your business. But tell us, before we get into all that juicy details and everything that we're going to be talking about today about scaling while keeping balance, because you're a mom, you're in business and you're trying to balance these things. Tell us, how did you get into this industry? How did you end up as a financial planner?
That's a great question, Travis. So I actually started my financial planning journey when I was in college. So I actually got a degree in financial planning, and that happened completely by accident. So I went to college thinking I would be an elementary education teacher. No one in my family had been to college before, and that seemed like a great career, being an educator. And when I was a sophomore in college, my parents told me they were filing for bankruptcy. And that sent my head spinning. I was like, bankruptcy? What does this mean? Like, how did this happen? Am I going to have to drop out of school and raise my siblings? Are my parents going to jail? What do I do with this information? So I did a lot of research on, what bankruptcy is and how it happens. And I realized that I probably did not have a good education around money, based on what I learned. So I figured for myself, I needed to at least take some classes on financial planning to figure out how to make sure that my life is in order and I don't end up like my parents did. So I took Personal Finance 101 at Kansas State University. And then I was really interested in taking another class after that, and ended up realizing that this could be a really cool profession, helping people get organized, understand their financial life, improve their financial situations, and just giving them the peace of mind that their lives are on track, and then they're not going to have some big pitfall in the future, like a bankruptcy. So I ended up changing my major midway through college to the financial planning major, and have been in the industry ever since.
This is excellent. What you've done. I mean, not only do you do financial planning for as you mentioned, the serious, big kid people, but you also help little kids. Like the elementary education is still there. Like it's in you. You're using that to, you didn't let go of it. Like you just held on to it. And now you're helping kids with the books and the stuff that you do. So I just want to point that out, that I think, there may have been some accident here and falling into it, which a lot of advisors do, but it may have been an outgrowth of where your heart is, right? Your heart is helping, your heart is learning. And what I love about your story there is you didn't just, put your head in the sand, but you decided, I'm not going to let this happen to me. I'm going to be, master my destiny. And you went after it. I love it. I love what you're doing. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. That's exciting. And I hadn't really connected those two dots, that I am kind of an elementary educator also, because the kids' books are really focused toward that kindergarten to third grade age range. And that really came out of me wanting to find better ways to talk about money with my kids. But then I love that I can kind of share those books with the world. And I love going to classrooms and daycares and libraries and reading them to the kids and helping them understand some basic financial concepts.
Super fun. Well, I'm glad we could put those together, because that just hit me as you were talking. I'm like, wait a minute, like this makes total sense. I get it. I get where you're coming from. And so, I mean, you're working full time, you're helping, you're a mom, you're helping out in the community, you're doing a lot of things. Tell us, what does it mean to have balance in your life, given everything that's on your plate?
Oh man, balance is such a loaded word. I feel like I love the work that you're doing, Travis. It is so important because it's so easy to just get wrapped up in your work, wrapped up in your day, and forget some of those other things that are important to you, like the family and the going to the baseball games and doing all the other things that matter in your life. So I am a work in progress. I will tell you that. I really focus on trying to find the harmony in life. So finding that harmonious balance between, work, life, home, and everything else. But for me, I've really found that trying to master my calendar is kind of a big key to helping me make time for balance, right? So for instance, we have scheduling links that we send to clients when we want to schedule meetings. And those are not just on accident. They can't just book anytime that they want, right? We may send them a specific link where they can only book Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday in 4 calendar slots. And for me right now in the summertime, I have 2 baseball players that are 9 and 7, and they have practice, most nights of the week, or I know Wednesdays we have 2 to 4 baseball games to attend. So on Wednesdays, my calendar is blocked. So nobody can book up an appointment after 4:00 because I need time to make sure I can pick everybody up from school and daycare and feed everyone and pack the snack wagon and make sure we know where the cleats are, all of those things.
So good. Yeah. And this is brought up by most who understand how time management fits in with balance. You've got to block out those really important things in life because it's so easy for it to be double, triple scheduled. I even talked with an advisor yesterday. He said, Travis, I just got triple scheduled. I'm like, this is the struggle because we want to help people, right? We're helpers. Mm-hmm. By nature, a lot of us, we fall into this industry or be attracted to this industry because of really 3 things. We like the flexibility, we like the freedom of our schedule, and the financial piece is very rewarding. But that all comes because we have helpers' hearts. We want to help. But the reality is if we're not doing those most important things, like you said, having this harmony, it's too easy to just be pulled in another direction. Mm-hmm. So we're all works in progress. In fact, I show up and I tell my clients, thank you for letting me be here because it helps me to keep balance. It helps me to keep focus on this. So as an advisor, you've done an excellent job scaling your own business and bringing in new clients. We've talked about how the book has even been a help in that and some of the blog posts you're writing, organic content. So let's talk about that. How has organic content that you've been writing, talking about on social media, how has that really helped you to scale your balance scale your business while also trying to keep that balance?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been really interesting because I've ended up speaking to the audience that I want as clients through my books. So the Money Boss Mom book is really focused on kind of that millennial age parent group and kind of the bottom end of Gen X and top end of Gen Z also. But I'm really speaking to people with, children and that are trying to balance the competing priorities of, raising kids, managing their cash flow for today, planning for the future for themselves for retirement and those kids while paying down debt and doing all these things at once. And so the posting I do and the blogs I write are all kind of directed towards that audience. And when I do speaking engagements as well, it's more toward, moms. And so it ends up attracting clients that see my work. They may have been connected to me for years, right? Maybe I went to high school with them. Maybe I worked with them at a bank 15 years ago. They're just seeing the things that I'm posting and they're like, oh, that was a helpful bit of information. And then oftentimes they'll reach out and say, hey, so I'm going through this. Is this something that you can help me figure out? Or, a common one I'm seeing right now, I'll be turning 40 in August. And so a lot of my friends are in that same boat. or people that I've known from college or different places. And that is oftentimes a trigger for people to say like, I'm 40 now. I need to figure this out. And so they'll just say, hey, I need help adulting. Like, can you work with me to help me make sure I'm doing the right things? And so I haven't had to actively try to find clients, with cold calls or different avenues of reaching out to them. It's more, I post things and then they end up reaching out to me to help them with a specific issue or just getting organized.
This is a key point. And I was laughing because I love what you're talking about here. Like 40 is the new adulting. You wake up and go, wait a minute. Do I have anything in order anymore? Like, where am I? I thought I'd be someplace totally different here at age 40. We studied this in my PhD program, human development. It's an actually very interesting thing. We tend to be like, oh, well, men have their midlife crisis at 40. It's actually more statistically sound to say women struggle at age 40. A lot of times, that's the stereotypical men get the Corvette or have problems in their marriage, et cetera, but it's actually not statistically proven. Women have this idea a lot of times that they should be further along or their children should be doing better or whatever issues in their career. And there's a lot going on. So that's interesting to me that you pointed that out and you're going through it yourself. It sounds like a new book topic coming.
It sure does. Yeah, it's really interesting too. What I've seen with my clients and friends too is that I don't know if it's a midlife crisis, but it is like an awakening, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of women are really wrapped up in their family and their kids and their work, and they're just like getting through the day. And then once maybe the kids leave the house or something changes, they're like, who am I? Am I doing the things I value? Am I taking care of myself? And so they have kind of an awakening of like, what do I want in life? And what do I need to be doing?
Yeah, great point. And the fact that you're right there too, very relatable. I love that so much is happening organically, because when you become the leader to an industry about a topic, to a specific group, they turn to you, right? They want advice. But if you try to be the generalist to everyone, you get lost in the weeds. And it really is creating that niche. So it's so great that the book is helping you to do that. The blogs, the organic content that you're producing, getting you on the right stages, virtually and on now back to these physical stages again. So this is fantastic for you. What would you say some of your biggest struggles might be as you're trying to scale your business without losing the sense of balance that you have, or without maybe improving on that balance? Like, the business is coming in, it's doing well, but what are some of the struggles that you're currently having?
Well, right now, we really want to help this younger generation of clients, right, in their 30s and 40s that are trying to sort through their financial lives. And what we've struggled with is trying to figure out how to keep it efficient, right? So, we came out with a subscription service for financial planning that's more like comprehensive planning light, that's more on demand and more technical, where maybe they're uploading a lot of their information into our systems instead of us manually inputting the plans. And it's more live planning instead of, we prep the meeting for this many hours ahead of time and have this big notebook of this and that. It's more like, we'll pull it up on our screen. We'll change it live if we need to. And so we're trying to figure out how to make that more efficient with the team that we have. So, right now it's been a lot of just like me working with these people individually, but we do have teams of associates at the firm. And so we're trying to figure out, how do we incorporate the different team members? How do we streamline the process so that everybody gets the same experience, but customized results in the end, and making sure that we can get through the onboarding process in a timely manner and make sure we're solving their problems quickly.
Yeah. So it really sounds like some systems in place at work that are some of your struggles there, which, we could definitely go down that road, because there's a lot of systems. I have found there are two types of systems. There's business systems and there's personal systems. And just like being in a boat, a kayak, a paddleboard, whatever, if you just row on the one side, if it's just business systems, you're not going to get out of balance. You're going to kind of go in a circle, right? But if you have those personal systems, they can kind of offset and help you go in the right direction. I found a lot of times with employees and, with our teams, we may have great ideas. This is how we're going to streamline it. But if their personal systems are messed up, they're not productive, they don't manage their time, their balance is out of whack, it affects how efficient those business systems run. Have you seen that? Have you seen it both, good and bad there with your teams?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see it coming from kind of all directions, right? Because we have our business life, we have our personal life, and then a community life, but it all ends up working together in some fashion. And so like, I see it where we're like, if I'm trying to do some work in the community with a volunteer organization, I have to be really mindful of what that commitment means and how it affects my work life and my home life. Are there monthly meetings during the workday, or are they at 5:30? Will I be able to navigate around that? My husband travels a lot for work, so he's not here sometimes in the evenings. And so if there is a group that needs my volunteer hours after 5, I have to pick up all the kids by 5:30. So I can't engage in that unless I hire a babysitter to come over and go through all these extra steps to figure that out. And so I'm really mindful about what I say yes to, and making sure that things I do say yes to are things that fit into my lifestyle and are things that I'm really passionate about. Because if it's just something that someone wants me to do because I have a financial background and I should help out with this organization, I used to say yes all the time, but now I try to really decide and be mindful of, okay, how does this fit into my life overall?
So smart. You're able to say no to a lot of things, which allows you to say yes to the things that are more important. Right. It sounds like, you're the keeper of your time, especially if your husband's out of town a lot. It's you, like it all kind of falls on your shoulders. And, you mentioned before work in progress. We all are, but the fact is that you're headed the right direction. Like you're doing the right things. You're time blocking, you're blocking out for the most important things. Let's go back to your team as well, though. Mm-hmm. Have you seen if their personal systems are doing well, how it affects your team? Or if their personal systems aren't doing so well, the effect on the team? Like talk to us there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like people have different personalities and how they handle work and how they get work done and how they process what's on their to-do list. So we have put, workflows in place. So we have some standard workflows for our regular comprehensive clients on, okay, there's a meeting coming up. This is your role. You check off that step, and then it kicks off the next step to me to do XYZ. And then it kicks off the next step back to the associate to do the tax projection or do a net worth analysis, things like that. So we've put some standard procedures in place where we know where everything is for a certain client at any given point. And that's also where we keep the meeting notes for those client meetings, so people can reference those if they are confused or need to. But I think everybody handles their task list differently. And we've seen where, some people kind of keep a running list on sticky notes or a notepad. Some people have spreadsheets that they're using. And I think it's important for everyone, even, associates and different people who aren't meeting with clients, to really balance their days and understand how long these tasks are going to take for them to do. So that to-do list doesn't just keep growing and never gets done throughout the day.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, you're right. That everybody does it different. I think that's part of the issue. Different personalities, different individuals will really do the same task differently. Mm-hmm. Right. But we have standard operating procedures, SOPs in place, which is awesome. You got workflows. What I've seen in a lot of businesses is because everybody has a different personal way of doing it, there can be some rub, some issues. Like, wait a minute, why are you sending me email at 2 a.m? Or I don't do meetings on Fridays. And so we've got some communication or lack of it that might create some tension in the workplace. So I definitely, recommend advisors, first, have the business systems in place. And second, to balance this culture, to have the personal systems of productivity, a same culture type of expectation. It doesn't mean you have to do it the exact same way, but if the culture is similar, then you can be even more productive. Speaking of the culture, we're going to did you have a comment?
Oh, I was just going to say too, I encourage everybody that is on my team to maximize the way they do work, right? So, and understand what things might be getting in their way. So like for me personally, I know that I'm easily distracted. So I love a good side conversation that comes up at the water cooler or whatever. And so I know I have to, if I'm getting stuff done, I need to block it on my calendar and I need to lock the door so no one can bother me. And I need to shut off my email so I'm not getting any notifications about other things that are coming into play. I also do that on my phone where I don't have notifications pop up for work email, personal email, anything. That way I'm not seeing those things and wanting to go down that rabbit hole. Because I feel like once you see it, it's in your mind and you're like, oh, I do need to call them. I do need to do that. And then you're not present where you are. Your mind is with that email.
Totally. 100%. And what happens is we don't actually multitask, but we switch task.
Right.
And so we'll go from that thing to that thing. And even if we don't do it, if right now you got a scathing email from compliance that says you got to do all these things, or you had an audit notification come up, your energy and attention from this podcast would be like, sucked. It would be gone. Right. And it'd be really difficult to, okay, I've got to get back to this, but I got to hurry and do that. But that is how I see advisors a lot of times throughout the day. If they don't block it and lock it like you do, or shut down all their notifications, which I recommend. So I love that you do this and that this is my Achilles heel. Like I'm easily distracted. I love a good side conversation, but I've got to do these things to make sure you stay focused. So what a great segue into this next part. And that is, we look at the culture of the industry. I think the culture of the industry, if we're not personally responsible for it and don't make boundaries and time to do all these things, creates a culture of workaholism. And it's ingrained, it's embedded into what we do. And we're paid really well. So we have we talk about dopamine rushes on instant, gratification. Well, that is exactly how advisors in this industry are really being taught, is the instant gratification of the freedom, the flexibility, and the finances, like all those three built together. So that said, what do you think as you're looking and you've, been in the industry a little bit, you've rubbed shoulders with other advisors. What do you see in the industry as some other things that advisors struggle with to really have the balanced growth that you're experiencing?
Well, I think there's always work to do, right? And we are passionate helpers that enjoy the work that we're doing. So it always feels good to be working for the most part, right? So I feel like advisors get wrapped up in I need to be there for my clients. I need to always be on email. I need to always be available. And that's just not sustainable because you're not valuing all the other things that are important to you in your life. And you mentioned, that we're financially rewarded for the more work we do, right? And I encourage people to think about, at what cost, right? Like, what are you making that money for? So, because you can be super successful and make tons of money and then have no one to enjoy it with, or, are you able to spend money with your kids, taking them to Disney, or did you not go on the Disney trip with your family because you had too much work to do? So really zoning back in on, what am I doing this for? And
so good.
What's the bigger picture?
And isn't that the educator in you too? You just went into education mode. You totally did. You're like, what are you doing this for? That's the psychological aspect that is so important that we really involve in our planning, but also us personally. Sometimes we can become the cobbler, right? And the whole cobbler's children's story about where we're not taking care of our own plan. We're not taking care of our own balance. And that's exactly why I'm after it with advisors, because I was there. I know what it's like to lose all sense of balance and watch as 2007, 2008 crept upon us. with the Great Recession, and man, people lost everything, right? It was a tough time. But there is a cycle, again, as we've talked about, there's a cycle in this, this again, the 3Fs. If we're losing that, I found a lot of advisors, when they're feeling stressed, I know they're workaholics because they work more. They don't work less. It's
Right.
the exact opposite. If you're feeling stressed, a lot of times you need to get away from work. You need to go do the things that light you up. You need to ask yourself those questions you're asking: at what cost? What am I doing this for? Really get to your values. And, my book, Achieving Balance, still available. It can still be purchased. It's on Amazon. It's at our website, travisperry.com with an A. And what I've found is that when advisors really focus on their values, what they're doing these things for, even if they can just remember the long term, a lot of times that stress that they put on themselves, the anxiety they feel, it is able to be, at least for the time being, shelved, put aside, and they can move forward, right? Have you found that to be true?
Yeah, for sure. It's like, you don't have time to think if you're stressed and you're just overworked, and if you get away from it and put some space between work and yourself, then your brain can work and do the things that you need to do. And it's funny that we talk to clients about values, and technically they are outsourcing something to us, right? So we are hired not because they can't do it on their own. I mean, they're smart people. They can figure it out. But they have decided that they want to prioritize their time in other ways. And so they outsource the financial piece to us to manage for them. And so we needed to take our own advice and, focus on the values and living life to the way we want to live it, instead of getting wrapped up in work all the time.
Mic drop moment right here. Like, absolutely. You're an advisor and you get it. Like, you know exactly what's going on. And that's why I left my practice as an advisor to just do this for advisors, because I knew this was so crucial. We're not doing it and we're struggling. But if we are talking about outsourcing, having a mentor, a coach, whoever, to help you to keep your values. Maybe it's another financial advisor. Maybe it's someone in your company. I have found personally, and this is where I did some of my research, is that our spouse tends to be the one that can help us the very most when it comes to our own personal values. Some things we don't want to share with our coworkers, right? Some things we want to share with our boss or whatever, mentors. But having our spouse to be that person that you can share that with and walk all roads of life together, at least as a support system, as your number one cheerleader, but more importantly, as your spouse, that has been the best thing for me. And then I looked at the research on this and found it also is true. When couples have very similar values and they support each other in those values, they're much more likely to be happier, have a better relationship, and 3, actually, this was an interesting one. It's indirectly related to financial stability. So while it wasn't directly correlated, we found that because their goals are the same, they're going to work towards these goals together and eventually reach them faster than those who didn't. So this goes back not only for us, but to our own clients, that if you're able to, be on the same page, right, it all works better. Well, it's been a fantastic conversation, Jamie. We could go on, and we'll have you, let us give some advice here to other advisors out there. I mean, we've been kind of advice dishing throughout this podcast, but what other advice would you give to advisors how to really scale while keeping your balance?
Yeah, I would say trying to focus on the things that are important to you. And so Travis and I can probably both speak to this, but when you're trying to write a book, like a lot of people come up to me and say, oh gosh, I just don't have time to do that sort of thing, but I have all these ideas and I want to write about it. What I do is really zone in on making time for that. Like I don't have to create new time, but I block my calendar from 7:30 to 8 every single day to do writing or thinking about writing or brainstorming. And then I actually reserve the time that I spend at the hair salon for writing books. So like, I know I have a lot of gray hair. I don't know if you can see it, Travis, but I go to the salon consistently every 4 or 5 weeks, and I have a good hour and a half in that chair where the dye has to soak in or whatever. And so I sit there and I bring my laptop, my personal laptop, so the work email's not on there, and I don't open anything else, just zone in on writing the books or writing down the ideas that are in my head.
So good.
So just
no, I don't.
Some of the time
and I don't see any.
have.
I don't see any gray. If you're watching the YouTube, I don't see any gray. So then, I've got this red beard, but on the sides it's white. It's not actual gray. Redheads don't go white or gray. They go white. And so I get it. If I was in the chair for that long, I'd utilize that time. In fact, I talked to my client the other day who's struggling with this concept of making this time to work on projects of his own. I said, it's really all about the atmosphere. If you've got to go to the beach and just be in a t-shirt and do some writing, do it. If you need to go outside and be away from your home office and be away from your office at work, do it. So what you described there is atmosphere, creating that atmosphere. And for you, it's an hour and a half sitting in that chair. I think it's brilliant because you're really, you have to be there. Like, it's a zone and you can create it. For me, when I was writing my book, it was Friday mornings in my pajamas at 5:30 in the morning before all the kids woke up on the couch. And, is when I was able to get those thoughts out. So atmosphere, creating those times, time blocking. I mean, these are some big concepts that I know that we teach, and it's nice to hear that you're doing these, Jamie. Thanks for being on the show. Thanks for being willing to share your experience, your ups, your downs, your challenges and struggles and successes here with our audience.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Travis, and thank you for doing this work.
Absolutely. Guys, if you love this, guys and gals, and you're listening to this as faithful listeners, there's somebody out there that needs to hear this. Share it, like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. We love having you, and thank you for making this a place where we can talk about balance. Remember, live life on purpose.